I really didn't want to like this movie, but in the end, it really got me. Hi, what's up, everybody? So today I'm revisiting Toy Story 4. This is the final installment of me looking at all the Toy Story movies from 1 to 5. And I was so really apprehensive. I did not want to watch, let alone like this movie. I think I still had Quentin Tarantino's voice in my ear, where I remember in a recent interview he was talking about how he thinks the first three are a perfect trilogy, and it doesn't really matter how good people say the fourth one is, he's not going to watch it because for him it ended on such a great note. And I understood what he said after watching the third one, but I have a toddler son, so of course I'm going to watch all of them since I already started with the fifth one. And so here I am, I go into it, and by the end, my eyes welled up. I'm not going to lie. It was like such a great journey for all of the characters involved. And it just hit all the great story beats and all the feels is definitely there. This time we are following the toys as they are now Bonnie's toys, who the character that we meet in the third one. And then Andy gives his toys to and shows her like who they are, and they play with each other one last time. And this time around, before we even kind of get to what life is like as Bonnie's toy, we get this flashback scene where through a bunch of series of events, we have Bo Peep, who is kind of like Woody's girlfriend basically, but she's also Molly's toy, and she gets, given away. Molly doesn't play with her anymore, so she's like, okay, no, put her in a box and donate her. So then we have this really emotional scene between Woody and Bo Peep as they say goodbye to each other. Then we flash back to present day, and all the toys are in Bonnie's closet, and they're talking about like who is going to play and how it's going to be, etc. And Bonnie comes home, opens up the closet door, and grabs all the toys that she wants to play with. And Woody is left behind for like the third or fourth time. So now he's not just dealing with not being Andy's toy anymore, but now he's not the favorite anymore. And so he still wants to try and be relevant and serve the purpose of a toy that he believes he should, which is to make a child happy. And he notices that Bonnie is very nervous about going to kindergarten. So he decides to sneak into her bag and kind of just be there in case, she needs any kind of support. He sees that, in the kindergarten classroom, she's scared, she's isolated. And one of the things that he does during this kind of art activity is he sneaks close to the garbage can, takes out a bunch of materials from the art class and puts them on her desk. And then from those materials, Bonnie makes Forky, who's one of the new characters that we meet. And she loves this toy, and he feels like this is her anchor so that she can feel safe and comfortable in this new environment. So that is going on, while at the same time, Bonnie and her parents decide to go on a road trip in an RV. And then that's where the real adventure begins, and then what happens is that Woody and Forky get separated from everybody else, and they have to find a way to meet up again. And that's kind of like the crux of the journey. Along the way, Woody is reminded of Bo Peep, and they reunite randomly, right? But it all makes sense, of course. But then we meet some other characters. We have Gabby, who's like this very old school doll that talks, and her little minions, they look like marionettes, and they're very creepy and uncomfortable. But they add for some great texture as far as like not just being, a funny coming of age story, but it adds like some suspense elements, some, dare I say, horror elements as well. And then we meet some other really, really great characters as well, particularly my favorite as soon as we're introduced to him, Duke Kaboom, voiced by Keanu Reeves. And Keanu Reeves is just hilarious. He really just kind of committed to the role of Duke Kaboom. And I'm not going to give away the ending if you haven't seen it, even though I'm revisiting this, but it's such a logical kind of progression of the characters, and it really, really hits you. Because one of the things that is talked about a lot is what life is like for Bo Peep, because she doesn't belong to any child anymore. She's like a free toy, and is doing her best to survive on her own. And she describes what life is like in that sense to Woody, and Woody's like, how can you possibly believe that this is a good way to be? It's all about being a child's toy. So there's that little conflict there that has this amazing culmination at the very end, and it gets you. It really, really does, and I love that it got me. So it's hands down my favorite of all the Toy Story movies, surprisingly. I didn't think it was possible, but crazier things have happened. Anyways, those are my thoughts. What about you guys? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Smash that like button, click subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.